No safe defense, not even science. Part 2. When Eliezer realized exactly how stupid the stupid theory had been, and that traditional rationality had not saved him from it, and that science would have been perfectly okay with his wasting 10 years testing the stupid idea, so long as afterward he admitted it was wrong. Well, I'm not going to say it was a huge emotional convulsion. I don't really go in for that kind of drama. It simply became obvious that I'd been stupid. That's the trust I'm trying to break in you. You are not safe. Ever. Not even science can save you. The ideals of science were born centuries ago, in a time when no one knew anything about probability theory or cognitive biases. Science demands too little of you, it blesses your good intentions too easily, it is not strict enough, it only makes those injunctions that an average scientist can follow, it accepts slowness as a fact of life. So don't think that if you only follow the rules of science, that makes your reasoning defensible. There is no known procedure you can follow that makes your reasoning defensible. There is no known set of injunctions which you can satisfy, and know that you will not have been a fool. There is no known morality of reasoning that you can do your best to obey, and know that you are thereby shielded from criticism. No, not even if you turn to basecraft. It's much harder to use and you'll never be sure that you're doing it right. The discipline of basecraft is younger by far than the discipline of science. You will find no textbooks, no elderly mentors, no histories written of success and failure, no hard and fast rules laid down. You will have to study cognitive biases, and probability theory, and evolutionary psychology, and social psychology, and other cognitive sciences, and artificial intelligence, and think through for yourself how to apply all this knowledge to the case of correcting yourself, since that isn't yet in the textbooks. You don't know what your own mind is really doing. They find a new cognitive bias every week and you're never sure if you've corrected for it, or overcorrected. The formal math is impossible to apply. It doesn't break down as easily as John Q. Unbeliever thinks, but you're never really sure where the foundations come from. You don't know why the universe is simple enough to understand, or why any prior works for it. You don't know what your own priors are, let alone if they're any good. One of the problems with science is that it's too vague to really scare you. Ideas should be tested by experiment. How can you go wrong with that? On the other hand, if you have some math of probability theory laid out in front of you, and worse, you know you can't actually use it, then it becomes clear that you're trying to do something difficult, and that you might well be doing it wrong. So you cannot trust. And all this that I have said, will not be sufficient to break your trust. That won't happen until you get into your first real disaster from following the rules, not from breaking them. Eliezer already had the notion that you were allowed to question science. Why? Of course the scientific method was not itself immune to questioning. For are we not all good rationalists? Are we not allowed to question everything? It was the notion that you could actually in real life follow science and fail miserably, that Eliezer didn't really, emotionally believe was possible. Oh, of course he said it was possible. Eliezer dutifully acknowledged the possibility of error, saying, I could be wrong, but he didn't think failure could happen in, real life. You were supposed to look for flaws, not actually find them. And this emotional difference is a terribly difficult thing to accomplish in words, and I fear there's no way I can really warn you. Your trust will not break, until you apply all that you have learned here and from other books, and take it as far as you can go, and find that this too fails you, that you have still been a fool, and no one warned you against it, that all the most important parts were left out of the guidance you received, that some of the most precious ideals you followed, steered you in the wrong direction. And if you still have something to protect, so that you must keep going, and cannot resign and wisely acknowledge the limitations of rationality, then you will be ready to start your journey as a rationalist. To take sole responsibility, to live without any trustworthy defenses, and to forge a higher art than the one you were once taught. No one begins to truly search for the way until their parents have failed them, their gods are dead, and their tools have shattered in their hand.